1. My friend and I are empaths. Whether or not you believe in that stuff is up to you, and I, in particular, have the ability to tune into spirits. So I wanted to take her to a graveyard at 3 a.m. and kind of practice feeling out energy and get a little creeped out too. We both like scary stuff. We bike to our town's college campus, which has a cemetery, and park our bikes outside, hiking the dark trail at night. This wasn't my first time here, and, in fact, I'd visited it a handful of times now and pretty much knew the landscape. My friend and I would walk in whichever direction we felt something, which, in most cases, was mutually agreed upon. One area in particular we were especially drawn to, and we wound up directly at the grave of a particular fellow. I can't quite remember his name, so for the sake of this story we'll call him John Doe. John was not a hostile spirit by any means. In fact, I mostly got the sense that he was lonely and curious. We continued looking around and going down different paths. Mind you, we were focused on feelings, not directions. So I was surprised when about half an hour later I was pulled toward another energy only to stop and look down to see John Doe's grave again. My friend was looking at me kind of surprised and asked, "I saw you going back to that area, but I didn't think you realized it was the same grave. Did you know that was the same grave when you walked over there?" She was right. I didn't know. I was just following what I was drawn to. A bit of time passes and we stop and sit on a bench and play a game of cards via flashlight. About an hour passes and it's probably 5 a.m. now, when I notice lightning. No thunder or rain, and it wasn't all that cloudy because we could see the moon. But we both definitely saw lightning multiple times. Well, we really didn't want to get caught in a storm, so we decided to make our way out. Now a little tidbit about me. I am directionally gifted. I can easily walk down multiple trails, get entirely lost, and still somehow loop right back to where I started. All I have to do is decide I'm ready to go back. I've never gotten mixed up. My friend knows this, so she follows me. So I look at the different landmarks to feel for where we are, and I point in a direction and say, "This way." So we're walking, and as we get toward the front of the graveyard, a certain area of graves just felt heavy. Heavy and unwelcoming. I remember looking at it for a moment before forcing my eyes away. It was at this moment that this weird siren went off in the distance. My friend and I describe it as sounding like an alarm, mixed with dogs barking, and it was coming from up ahead in the far distance. We both heard it, and as we were nearing the exit it was getting louder. The noise was grating and made both of us feel uneasy. It wasn't until the path let up that both of us realized something was wrong. We'd reached a dead end, a roundabout in the path at some corner of the cemetery that I'd never seen in all the times I've been there. We were both confused. This should have been the entrance. When we looked around for the flagpole at the beginning of the graveyard, we found it was in the complete opposite direction. It made no sense. Imagine walking to your friend's house down the road for the 10th time, only to end up on another street altogether. And the alarm was practically deafening now. It seemed to be coming from the campus straight ahead, we realized. We doubled back towards the entrance and grabbed our bikes, intent on following the sound to find its source. Only as soon as we left the cemetery, the noise stopped. As we rode our bikes through a silent campus, my friend swore she heard it again, so I followed her while she followed the noise, but I could no longer hear it, as it was faint for her. It may as well have been bouncing off buildings because she directed us all over campus, but to no avail. We had no luck finding the source that night, cut our losses and headed home. That feeling of dread and unease did not go away until we were completely off of campus grounds. 2. This story began on April 13th, 2015, my 20th birthday. But it's unforgettable to me, and I believe worth sharing. My friend Elle, her dad, G, and I were traveling from Florida to Beijing, China for a business trip, real estate expo. We had a connecting flight in Chicago, which is where this strange event began to unfold. The night before our trip, I was at Elle's house. She was still doing some last-minute packing, or probably all of it. and I told her how I was bringing a teddy bear of mine on the trip. I thought it would be nice to have something sentimental to snuggle on the 12-hour flight. She liked the idea and decided to bring her teddy bear as well. Side story. My teddy bear passed on to me from my deceased father. When we were younger, 11, and after he had died, I told Elle and her dad about the bear and how much it meant to me. Out of all the material things, Game Boys, DVD players, etc., I had asked for his gifts from him, suddenly meant nothing compared to this bear. Touched by it, Elle's dad decided to get her a bear too. Story resumes. So when G hears that we were both planning to bring these bears to China with us, he tells us it's a terrible idea not to do it. He's honestly pretty upset about it, but being 20 and foolish, we bring them anyway. Fast forward to the next evening. We had just boarded our flight to Chicago. We're waiting a while, and then we're told that one of the doors on the plane isn't shutting properly, and we can't take off tonight. So we all deboard and are headed to the help desk to find out which hotel we're assigned to for the evening. As we're walking over, Elle realizes she left her bear on the plane. G is extremely unamused, and we all run back over to try and retrieve the bear. And have no such luck, the bear is gone. We're all upset, but we carry on. Fast forward to the next morning. It is about 6 a.m., and we're all rushing back to the airport from our hotel for our new 8 a.m. flight to Beijing. Well, we're all in the cab, probably halfway there, and suddenly, a feeling of absolute dread comes over me. In my sleepy state, I had left my bear at the hotel. I was so emotionally attached to this thing and was devastated. Honestly, we all were. But we couldn't turn around without missing our flight, and we had already lost one day of our trip. Well, G gets on the phone for me and calls the hotel. He tells them what happened, described the bear to them, Red Bear, and asks them if they can please give the bear to one of the other passengers at the hotel to bring to the airport for me. The receptionist makes an announcement asking if anyone was on the flight, and with some luck left in the world there was, and he was given the bear. No phone numbers were exchanged. When we arrived at the airport, I just frantically looked at each person that entered the gate seating area, hoping to see someone carrying my beloved bear. After what felt like an eternity, he finally appeared. I ran over to him, thanked him truly with all my heart, took the bear and began walking back to L&G. Well, as I'm walking away, he calls after me. I turn around, and I kid you not, this man is holding Elle's bear and asks me if I know who it belongs to. I'm honestly in an utter state of shock as he explains to me how he found the bear in an empty seat on the plane the night before as he was getting off. Needless to say, we were all shook, but also amazed. I mean, this man is a bear savior. How on earth? You have to understand, this was a huge plane. International, many passengers, many seats. The passengers were all probably split between 3 different hotels. Somehow, against all odds, this man ends up with both of our bears. Elle's dad said it was the most unbelievable thing he ever experienced, and he was in his late 70s at the time. Of course, the significance of the bears to all of us just made the whole thing more bizarre. 3. About 2 weeks ago, I graduated from college, and my mom bought a bunch of graduation balloons. Some of the balloons ended up flying away, and in the end, we had 2 left, which my younger siblings left inside my parents' room. The day that the glitch happened, I was inside my room on Netflix watching The Office. It was nighttime, and it was raining. I had the door of my room open because my 3 siblings and dog were outside in the living room, and my parents had gone out to Walmart. Out of nowhere, my dog starts barking aggressively and non-stop. This isn't really surprising. I have a 1-year-old mixed miniature schnauzer, and he does not like strangers at all. For such a little guy, he has a loud bark and growl, but never barks when he's inside the house, only when he's outside and people walk by our backyard. I get up and walk out into the living room and ask my brother what's wrong with Blue, my dog's name. My brother points to the ceiling, and I see that one of the graduation balloons had floated out from my parents' bedroom, and Blue was barking at it like crazy. I thought it was pretty weird because the balloons had been inside my parents' room for 2 days already, and it hadn't floated out before. I grabbed the balloon and put it back inside my parents' room and saw that the other balloon was still there, floating in the corner. I went over and left the other balloon right next to it and went back to my room to watch Netflix. Not even 3 minutes later, Blue was barking like crazy again. I go back to the living room to see that the same balloon had floated out again. My brother and I looked at each other, and I can see that he's startled. He's at the age where he is just getting comfortable walking outside by himself, and not be afraid of the dark, so I understood. I went over and grabbed the balloon and started walking towards our back door that leads to the backyard. My brother and Blue followed me the whole time, my brother being kinda scared, and Blue barking non-stop. This is where the glitch happens. I opened the back door and put the balloon outside. As soon as I had closed the door, Blue stopped barking, but immediately there was barking outside, and the barking sounded just like Blue, and it sounded like it was just outside our door. Now I was startled. I looked at my brother, and we both looked down, and Blue is right there next to us. I went over to the windows that faced the backyard and looked outside, trying to see if maybe the balloon had floated to our next-door neighbor's house and scared their dog or something, but their backyard lights were off, and it was raining hard, so it didn't make sense that their dog would be outside. Plus, their dog was super friendly and he never barked, not even at strangers. The barking was incessantly going. So, after looking through all the windows, I went and opened the back door. The barking stopped right away, and the balloon was still outside my door. It hadn't floated away. I'm guessing it didn't because I left it right in the porch and the wind wasn't blowing hard enough. I'm not sure, but the fact that the barking stopped freaked me out. I went out and looked around the backyard, and there was no dog nowhere. I go back inside the house, and when I close the door, the barking resumes outside. As soon as it happened, I immediately opened the door again, and the barking stops. I stand there with the door open, really confused, and once again close the door. This time, nothing happens. I'm thinking that in an alternate universe, when I take the balloon outside, my dog is also outside, and he is barking at the balloon, and that is why we can hear him. Either way, this is a very weird experience, and I think that it could be considered a glitch. 4. I'll start by letting you know that I love to write poetry. I write poems and songs and raps. I love writing. I listen to Lil Wayne, and after watching and studying him for years, I developed the habit of memorizing my lyrics immediately. According to interviews, this is what Lil Wayne does, so I took some tips, as he has such great wordplay and delivery in my opinion. Side note, my lyrics are nothing like Lil Wayne's. Anyway, the parts that matter. I have connected with an old high school pal whose friend creates beats. I rap on instruments a lot and post these on my medias. My friend had sent me a message. Hey, check out this beat. I checked it out, and just getting home from work, I felt lazy. I work for a cannabis company, and anyone who's actually smoked, and smokes daily, knows that weed isn't going to give you hallucinations. It actually helps me write. I'm smoking now. So I had taken a couple hits off my joint. I spit a quick, silly rap that I remembered and still remember today, after rapping it only once this night when I created it. I rapped it. After I rapped out my sentences and created a full body, I wrote down all the lyrics I came up with in my notes on my iPhone. I will add that this day we'd put one of our family dogs down. My sister called her husband, who was taking our dog to be put down, to ask him not to put him down, but he never got the call. This night I had thoughts of suicide, though I wasn't too upset about anything. The dog was my sister's husband's dog, so I wasn't too emotionally attached. Anywho, I spit my lyrics on the beat and post it to my story. The guy who makes the beat hits me up and says, "Hey, send me that." Being pessimistic at the time, I thought, nah, I don't even want anyone reposting. I go inside and go to sleep. The next morning, I wake up, take my time in the morning to get ready, grab something to drink, a basic morning routine. I walk outside and feel very odd. Lightheaded, not necessarily sick, but the best way to describe it is the feeling you get when you stand up too fast, and the blood rushes to your head. Kinda like that without the pressure, if that makes sense. I felt light instead of heavy. I felt this for about 10 feet until I was able to sit in my car, where I oddly slumped over the steering wheel. This felt weird to me, as if I died. My body has stopped breathing, but more, because it seemed as though that was what was supposed to happen, rather than my body give up. I hope this makes sense. After what felt like 60 seconds, I came back to reality. I texted my friend that something very strange happened to me, so send good vibes. Not thinking anything else other than, well, that felt weird. I go into my phone to check Instagram, which I oddly had a change of heart on my video, and was eager to send it to the beatmaker. I open up my visor mirror, then I open up my phone. I go to send my video and re-watch it just because. When I watch my video, I realize not one word was anything I'd sang or written. Confused, I watch it again and again, until I think, okay, I'm tripping. I have to check my notes. I must have written more and forgotten and only recorded these words. I check my notes, and all the words match the video. I start to freak panic, as if I'd saw a ghost. My heart dropped because I know what I wrote, I know what I rapped. When I try to think of the original lyrics, the ones different from this visual of myself, I cannot remember one word. I only know that I wasn't going crazy or actually trippin', because when I had originally written my song I had a line, which I couldn't remember at the time, that read, "You're my Elmer, I would stick to you like glue." I'd messed up, and in my original post it sounded like, "You were my Elmo, I would stick to you like glue." I contemplated re-recording, but I was lazy and high, so I said F it. Who cares? My friends don't care what I'm randomly rapping about. If it hadn't been for that line, I'd probably have felt like I was going crazy. Because of this line, I called my BFF, the one I messaged, and basically sobbed all over the phone, confused and frightened. She said calm down as I explained to her, but I could hear in her voice she thought I was crazy. To this day, this bothers me because I watched myself rap lyrics that I never rapped. It almost felt as though she was a more positive version of me. Her lyrics were positive, as mine were slightly darker. Going back to our dog, I wonder if my sister's husband had got her call and not put down the dog, that this glitch may have been avoided. Maybe this life is different from the life of which he hadn't put the dog down. Also, the slumping at my steering wheel felt like I had died. A few years ago, my high school best friend took her own life, with the exhaust from her car. Did I experience what she'd felt when her life left her? Did I actually act the night before in my suicidal thought? All I know is this is creepy, and I wish I knew what real was. 5. So I work night shift. I leave for work at around 11:40 p.m., and it takes me between 10 to 15 minutes to arrive at my workplace. My drive is largely northward, and I come home somewhere between 9 and 11 a.m. depending, heading, as you guessed, largely southward. As a result of my direction of travel, the sun is never directly in my eyes, neither at night, of course, nor on the way home, where it hangs off the left or driver's side of my windshield and side window. This one Friday I am driving home from work. It's been a long day, as Fridays tend to be, and I'm thinking nothing more than getting home, having a hot shower, and changing into some fresh clothes. The drive is uneventful. I go straight home and park in the driveway per usual. I don't go out that weekend, instead choosing to hunker down in the house and recover from my week's labor. And I mean labor, as I am a blue-collar man. It was a normal winter weekend here in eastern US. Clear, dry, no snow, maybe a little windy, but that's about it. So come Sunday night I get up to go into work. I pack up my shit and get into my truck, a Ford F-150 4x4, and roll down the driveway to the end of the circle. There I stop at the stop sign and, as is my habit, look right, then left, before proceeding through a left-hand turn, just on the off chance that there's some traffic. As I'm making my left turn, a portion of my brain tells me that something is amiss. Something was blocking a portion of my vision when I looked right just a second ago. Once I had completed my turn and the truck was safely straightened out, I glanced back to my right only to discover that my passenger side sun visor was in the down position. Not just a little ways down like it had slipped a bit, but all the way down and a tad forward, as if someone had deliberately pulled it down and forward to block the sun. I was very puzzled by this. I checked the road, then reached over and pushed the visor back up against the ceiling. It was very stiff to move and took not an inconsiderable amount of force. At the next stoplight, I spent more time playing with the visor, moving it up and down, stopping it at various positions to see how well it held, and it held great. The hinge is quite stiff, and the visor holds in whatever position I put it in without fail. As I mentioned, this is a 4x4 model truck. It's actually designed for off-road use, with higher than normal ground clearance. And I honestly don't think those visors would move even in a truck rollover. I had no passengers recently. As I said, I came straight home southward, and the truck sat in the driveway all weekend completely untouched. I have no explanation for this. The truck is locked. I have the only keys. There is no one here who would have been in the truck anyway. There were no passengers, no one touched it. I didn't go anywhere, there was no reason for the visor to be down in the first place. And I am certain that I didn't do it. I'm at a complete loss for why the visor was up on Friday and down on Sunday. It shouldn't have happened. A glitch. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to 5 True Glitch in the Matrix Stories, episode 114. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories and sent in stories for use in this video. And that brings us to what is, at least for now, the final 5 True Glitch in the Matrix stories. But not to worry, glitch stories aren't going away, they are simply changing form. And now let's see, what date have I set for this? Right, so today will be the 27th, so the 4th, 11th, 18th. On the 25th of July, we'll see the first in Glitch Monthly. So Glitch Monthly number 1, which will consist of, on average, 20 stories. Might be a little bit more, might occasionally be less, but I don't see that happening too much. Plenty of time to gather stories. And that will be the form Glitch stories will take from here on. And hopefully that's the thing that's needed, because we like the glitch stories. I just need a way to reinvigorate them, to get more people coming in, more people watching them. And that also clears up 3 slots a month where I can put up something else that will probably do better. Which is better for everyone all around, because if I'm getting more views on newer videos I'm trying out, that attracts more people to the channel. That means the channel should grow a bit quicker, a bit better, because new subscriber growth is really, really low right now. It was great at the start of the year, but it's really low right now, and I need to try and get that back up. So, this is what we're trying, and hopefully it helps. I'll be honest with you. I know some people are disappointed, but again, you're still going to be getting the same amount of stories, possibly more, just once a month. And I hope you'll give it a chance and see how that works. I hope you give the new videos a chance as well. Now, interestingly, you will have noticed that on one of the stories in the video, let me just check, which one was it? I believe it was the first one, that there was woofing in the background. This is a rare occasion where the barking neighborhood dogs were free to bark away while I was recording, although they did annoy me initially when I realized, oh, there's dogs in this story, so I'll just keep recording while they woof away in the background. Yes, so sound effects brought to you by my neighbour's dogs. I even wrote a little poem about it when they were annoying me, and put it up on Twitter. I gave a pretty good tweet, to be honest with you. I don't mean to brag, but it's pretty good. And I did record it for the Patreon people, but that's just a little bonus. Didn't take me long to do. Okay, I don't often do this, but since this is the last in this series for now, possibly forever if the new one works out, of this particular video, then I would appreciate it. It is super helpful to me when you guys do this, so I really should be like every other YouTuber and do it more often, if it helps. And I'm asking you guys to please like the video if you liked it, leave a comment, that's also helpful, and share it with people. So, go wake up your granny, tell her about the video. That neighbour you don't talk to because he keeps leaving his bins in front of your house. Well, maybe this is a way of extending an olive branch in the form of Hellfreezer. Hellfreezer brings people together, he crosses all boundaries. Send it to your politicians, they'll be very confused. Might find I'm on the ballot next time. Alright, don't do that one. Or, pop it up on Twitter, retweet, do the things, the medias, whatever the kids are into these days. And you can also follow me, links in the description to various things. You can follow me on the Facebooks, the Twitters. There is a Discord if you're into that sort of thing. We don't judge around here. Okay, and I think I'm going to wrap it up there. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.